Hi, welcome to another episode of Hot Takes. This will surprise people, but there is a group that voluntarily pay extra tax to help the country out. They do it, they say, out of a sense of responsibility. They don't pay much. In fact, they pay very little, but they're doing it out of the principle, I suppose. We ought to be thankful until you realise how much money they have got and how much more they could pay. But this is it's called voluntary tax donations, and they have dropped massively. Basically, it's guilt-ridden millionaires who think, oh, well, I'm supposed to be lefty, I better put me credentials up, and they pay the most tiny fraction extra, just because they can. And despite this hysterically stupid campaign by these self-styled millionaires to levy a wealth tax this year. They've tried to get a wealth tax on everybody. And it's seen a miserable decline in their voluntary contributions. What's known as the Patriotic Millionaires Group, which includes people like Gary Stevenson, and who's the woman that did the Dragon's Den? Deborah Meadham. She's in there as well. Anyway, they're trying to push for a 2% annual wealth tax on assets over 10 million. They've been touring the country pushing this. They're saying, the millionaires and billionaires, they can afford it. It's not much. It's a tiny percentage. Let's pay and help the country get better. It won't, of course, because all the money raised just been given to countries abroad. Won't do anything for this country. It's let us shit. But information obtained by Freedom of Information shows that in 2025, up until November the 13th at least, £88,557.48 was paid in voluntary tax to the Treasury. That is, basically a donation towards general taxation, public expenditure from anything. This came from 45 donors. Were that rate to continue to the end of the year, it would raise about £102,000. Marvellous. A drop in the ocean, but marvellous. Now, that is a bit of a drop from last year's figure, which was £625,000 from just 27 donors. Still very low, but, a lot better last year than this year. It seems even millionaires are starting to feel the pinch. Now, Deborah Meaden, as I explained, has supported this Patriotic Millionaires Club for quite some time. She's worth about 50 million. And so this 110,000 would represent about 2% of her net worth. 2%? Sorry. 0.2% of her net worth. She can afford to pay it all herself and not even notice it. Probably do it as a tax write-off. They want to raise, they say if the tax hike that they're proposing, this wealth tax over 10 million, would raise something like 52 billion a year. And so that 110,000 represents, and here's the figure, 0.0001957% of that total. That's how much they've actually raised. Long way to go yet, boys. So they seem that they don't want to put their money where their mouth is. However, this is all bullshit, of course, because in reality, in the real reality in which everyone lives, you start putting a wealth tax on and we know what happens. Every time the lefties mention it, the same thing. Every oft-repeated wealth tax has proven this. The rich run. The millionaires and billionaires leave. They take their money with them. And so you're not taxing the excess that they want. And you're losing what they were already paying. So you end up far worse off. Well, that's socialism for you. Thanks very much.